Okay, so there you go then. It's signed, sealed, delivered. A new European Championship to replace the existing one, and everyone's happy, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good tournament. Everyone gets in on meritocracy. Is that the right word? I always struggle saying that. But the most important thing is that sun cream sales are going to go up because Dors, Lol and Ben have got to get plenty now when we get to the south of France for their heads. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fantastic year next year.
Well, I'm saying that everybody's happy. There's still a lot to resolve in Wales. Of course, the Regional Rugby Wales and the Welsh Rugby Union, they need to iron out their differences now, don't they?
Yeah, I think everyone's relaxed because the European issue's been solved, but probably one of the major fallings out, if you like, was between Welsh Rugby Union and Regional Rugby Wales. And they've said that now that Europe's sorted, they're going to get together at the end of the month. I think the Regional Rugby Wales are sending representatives to a board meeting of the WRU, but judging how long the European thing took out, you don't think it's going to be solved in that first meeting, do you? And Mark Davis, the acting chief exec of Regional Rugby Wales, has said actually there's still big differences that need solving. I think the problem that they have is around the fact that they still want to control the funding of the players, and they don't want this 6 or so players, as they've said, centrally contracted, and they want to be able to control. So they'd prefer to have the money that the WRU were holding back to centrally contract some players within their own budget, and they go up from, that would take them up from 6.3 million, I think it is, to 8.3.
But things like that are going to have to get resolved in England as well, aren't they? What, next year?
They will get resolved. We'll hear from Mark McCafferty in a little while. Because the agreement between the English clubs and the Rugby Union, that is up for renewal, I think, next year. It's worked very well. But this new European competition changes things, possibly. Maybe the clubs are getting a little bit stronger now. But you do get the feeling that the working relationship between the clubs and the Rugby Union is a very healthy one. Certainly, you speak to Ian Ritchie, the chief executive, you speak to Stuart Lancaster, the man driving English rugby, and it seems there's a good understanding there. And it was that understanding, I think, which really made sure that this new European competition is here and it's in place and we can look forward to it.
And talk about it.
Exactly. Yay. Let's talk about it, because it takes a little bit of getting used to. We've got a whole new load of names. We've got a new load of acronyms to get used to. But basically what we have is a new European competition, and this is how it works. The teams are going to be drawn from the 3 major European competitions, from the Aviva Premiership, from the French Top 14 and from the Rabo Direct. Now, qualification from the Premiership and the French Top 14 is nice and simple. If you finish the season in the top 6 of the Aviva Premiership, come on down, you are in the new competition. For the French, it's exactly the same. The top 6 sides in the French Top 14, well done, excellent. You can join the new competition as well. In the Rabo Direct, it gets a little bit more confusing. This is where the English clubs and other people had to concede a little bit, because, of course, the Rabo Direct is made up of teams from lots of different countries. So, to guarantee that each nation is represented, the top Welsh, the top Irish, the top Scottish and the top Italian club that finishes, regardless of where they finish, if they are the top in their country, they come in to the new Rugby Champions Cup. That leaves 3 more places to fill, and that is just done on the 3 top sides, apart from those top 4. So you have 6 from the Aviva Premiership, you have 6 from the French Top 14, that's 12. You have 7 from the Rabo Direct, 19. Where does the 20th team come from? Nice and simple, a playoff between the 7th team in the Aviva Premiership and the 7th in the French Top 14. The winner of that comes into the Rugby Champions Cup. So that is the top tier. But the great thing about this new competition is that there are 3 tiers. The second tier, which at the moment, just to get your head around it, equates to the Amlin Cup, is this. Qualification, 20 clubs comprising 18 from the Aviva Premiership, the Top 14 and the Pro 12. And 2 clubs, this is the really exciting bit, from a qualifying competition, a 3rd tier. These are the sides from countries such as Russia, Portugal and Spain. They will come up and they will occupy 2 teams in that 2nd tier. So we have 3 tiers of European rugby. Very exciting time, all sorted, all organised, a little bit of fine-tuning. Now, various people did a remarkable job making sure this all came together. There were months, years of acrimony, of vitriol, but finally something was done. Huge credit has to go to Ian Ritchie, the Chief Executive of the Rugby Football Union. He was incredibly diplomatic in making sure people finally got talking. Bill Beaumont just came in, did what Bill Beaumont does, just talk sense, old school sense. But one man who was there right from the start, who drove this and at times probably thought this dream would never come together, is the Chief Executive of Premiership Rugby, Mark McCafferty. And Nick Mullins went along to chat to a very relieved man.
So we got here in the end?
Yes, yeah, long journey.
Were there ever moments when you thought that it actually wasn't going to happen?
Yeah, I can remember a low point at a meeting in Rome, pretty much like that. I can remember a time in that meeting in Rome where ourselves and the RFU were asked to leave the room. I think from January onwards there was a sense that we would get there. It would still be a bumpy path, but we would get there.
And the deal suits you?
Yes, it does. I think, you know, we didn't get everything we would have liked to have seen from new European competitions, but I think that's
what did you compromise on?
True for the other stakeholders as well. We started out on the basis that we wanted 6 teams from each of the 3 leagues, exactly equal. We compromised in giving the Pro 12 league an extra guaranteed place. From next year they'll have 2 places in the playoffs as a league compared to only 1 from England and France.
You've succeeded with Plan A. What was Plan B?
Well, I think it was fairly well trailed as to what some of the Plan Bs were for the English clubs, at least. We had an alliance with the Welsh regions. We were looking at those options.
Was South Africa part of the equation?
We'd had discussions with the South Africans. They have interest in being involved with Northern Hemisphere European competitions as well.
Long term, you could see a tournament that might involve South Africans flying up and vice versa.
I think the professional game continues to evolve, and I think all of those things are possibilities.
Are we, as a result of this agreement, heading towards a football-style world where the clubs are the ones who hold the real power?
I think for the best international games in football, there's no question whatsoever that the players will always want to be involved in those games and those tournaments. I don't think rugby players are any different, but I think you only need to see an 82,000 crowd for the Aviva Premiership final at Twickenham, and you can see how some club games at the very top level are every bit as good as some test match games. But that doesn't mean to say that they need to be uneasy bedfellows.
World never stops then, Mark. We're now moving into negotiations this week about the elite player squad and the release of players from their clubs to Stuart Lancaster's England. You don't foresee a time where the club say, actually, hang on a minute, you're having too much time with our boys, we need to have them back a little bit more?
Certainly not at the moment. I think there's a good sense of balance there. I think it works very well. Stuart has a great relationship with the directors of rugby and vice versa, and I think there's a sense of give and take there, which is all preparing England very well for next year's World Cup. But on the other hand, everybody's got to realise that the clubs are very strong, and that's why the European competition issues were so vitally important to us. We can deliver both what England needs for its requirements, but also keep building the clubs so that they are more and more successful and able to support that system in future.